Welcome back, and I'm Sharon, talking about healing from abuse, from opening doors as a female who has not healed her inner child, and the path to destruction that happens when we don't do the work on our brokenness with our hole in our heart. And for me, this will be my second video. I just made one about 15 minutes long. I just wanted to explain when I met this man that God had put before me to step into my female energy. And I told you how it ended and what I learned about female energy that is healed, and why, if you've not done your inner child work, we keep attracting the same energy, the wrong men. And so when I learned this at the end of this 8-month connection that I had made through TikTok, and then the year after it, which has been the past year, what I learned about the weight that I carried from wrong dating choices, from a woman who was so broken after 30-year marriage, 34 years together, who would not stand up for herself, who became numb, who became barely living. I wasn't thriving, I was existing, and I was existing poorly, but that's what I rehearsed. And so when I got my divorce, I thought, we've been separated for a couple of years, I am so ready to date. Wrong. Why? Because I attracted the wrong men. And after the first wrong man, of course, there's sex on the first night, which is a mistake so many women make. And I know there's a whole nother viewpoint, but this is my viewpoint. Men want to slowly discover you. The good men do. And so I would enter into my next relationship. My soul and my heart were long gone from my body. I had so many layers of hurt that I carried from men and what they did to me and how I would freeze. Because I wasn't taught as a little girl to stand up for myself. And it started with my dad, my brother. I froze. I learned the art of freezing. Even if your life is threatened, the shame we carry as women just kept me in this man's presence. I would go to Vegas with him with $10,000 of my own, my choice. He was a con artist, of course, and he was PTSD? He was a sniper in the war. He was full of hurt, anguish, anger. He was a drinker, and he was a gambler. And he was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll. And he threw a crumb. Refer to my other video. When a man throws you a crumb, you go. And it does not matter if there's red flags galore, because you see, the female heart that is not healed is wounded. Doesn't even understand red flags. We just go all in. Somebody will love me. I was looking for a man to love me my entire life. I did find him. He had been wooing me and courting me and loving me these past 8 years, and his name is Jesus. It's not a religion, but it's a relationship that we developed in this office where I began painting and journaling, and my life came alive. I ended up losing $19,000 to that man. Had a small cosmetic procedure, nearly died with septic shock, was in the hospital for 6 weeks, not expected to live, 5% chance of living, and I lined myself with yet another man. My heart was so I cannot take care of my heart. I've done a poor job my entire life. It was like a hot potato. There was only 4 to 5 months between man number 1 and man number 2. Man number 2 throws a crumb. I suck it up and I take it. Well, this man came along with his own set of problems. And 2 weeks later, after 5 months, I've asked this man to move in with me, and I have one son left at home. What kind of mother does those things? A woman who is broken and no longer knows that she is worthy of love, that she deserves to be treated better, will settle for anything, even if it means throwing your kids under the bus. And so when I was ill in the hospital, I allowed him carte blanche. Here, help me pay my bills. Should I have done that? I shouldn't have. That's on me. A heavy consequence that I paid for poor choices. But I no longer beat myself up. Look at my other video and talk about where I've been and how this happened. But he would end up spending $24,000 on his debt, on his lawyers, on his kids' college. And you see, with both those men and nearly dying in between, I checked out of my life and I ran. Let me tell you what, we are good runners from our shame. Shame gets heavier when you run. It gets so heavy that you're running and you're exhausted. So whatever you find to attach yourself to, whether it's good or bad, you will attach yourself and hold on for dear life, even if it means you're dying in the process. And I mean literally dying. That man in Vegas already had a criminal record. I could have been gone just like that. But my shame kept me there in Vegas. My little girl, however, she was with me and she did her best to get me to get help. She did her best to say, just ask somebody for help. Tell them that you're afraid. Tell them that you made a mistake. Tell them you want to go home. Get me a flight. Help me. Help. 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 When I was a little girl, my dad would introduce me as his wife to all his gatherings, and look what I produced and look at her. And I had men gawking at me as I was a young girl. I said, help. Help. Does anybody see me? One of the bravest things you will ever do, ladies, when you're in abuse is say help. Throw the white flag. I don't care what you have to do, but raise your flag. God has people around you that are more than willing to love you and help you while you are not loving yourself. Do you not think there would have been somebody in that hotel that I could have fallen apart in front of him? But no, we have to keep our act together and act as if there is nothing wrong with us. The shame gets heavier, and it gets heavier, and it gets heavier, to where you're drowning and suffocating and isolating. That's where my life had gotten to. I did so much running. Here it was, throwing my own child, my third son, under the bus, because when I was in the hospital, I had this man who I asked to move in with me. So now he, a stranger, is in my house with my young son. I couldn't say help. And so the point of this story is to show the amount that my empty heart with a hole kept sucking up till it almost consumed me, till I was done. Take the bullets out of the gun, because I no longer trust myself. How did I get here? How did I get here? Ran away to the beach for a year. And when you're not feeling anything, you'll do anything to feel. And so pornography was a part of my life for a year at the beach, and it was the most painful year at the beach. I'd moved there with this guy, and it of course didn't work when I found this out, and yet I could not detach from this man. Here it is, you just spent $24,000. I kick him out of a place that we just moved to together. I didn't expect to be there alone. It would take me 2 years to detach from this man, because I said, Sharon, just meet with him and just, I am not this woman. It didn't happen. What did happen was sex. Yes. Come on, Sharon. I'm pissed at you. You must stand up for yourself. Let's meet one more time. Let him have it. Tell him you are not this woman. I do not deserve what you did to me. I couldn't. See, because I needed something from him that God needed to put in my life, and he was the only man to love me and heal me and fix me. How could I defend myself when I didn't know my worth and my value? But I carried the weight of what those two men did to me. It said, you made your bed, we'll lie in it. Yes, I have to do the consequences, which was cost me more than financially. And then when I moved in this house, my little girl is just like so excited because she knew that I would start painting, that I would show these women when I met the man on TikTok that I just shared on the last video, and how my little girl was like, Jesus, look, this is fixing to go down. His little boy was like, Jesus, like he's gonna flip out, and that every man in the world, he gets to witness this woman come into her own right before his eyes. And then I realized why I could never stand up for myself. Because I couldn't as a little girl. I didn't have that foundation. That starts with a dad who shows a little girl that she is so loved and adored. And she protects her and keeps her safe. But that's not the way life works all the time. And so just know that when this man came into my life, it was as if God himself took his arm to Big Tony's arm. And then Big Tony looked at me. He's connected to God up there. And he looks at me and says, hey, what you doing down there? You don't belong there. And I looked up and I'm like, you know what? You're right. My life exploded. I began painting my story. My heart was set free from the shame and the weight that I carried my entire life. I am this person who is head over heels in love with myself, and I want to help women find their little girl. Because when she met me, she embraced me. And here it was, my whole life. I hated myself for my poor choices, but things that were done to me that was not my fault. I asked God, will she still hate me? Will she be disappointed in me? And God said, don't you understand? She is going to embrace you. And now she did. When I opened the door that said, "The Sharon" on it, there she was. What took you so long? It's what she said to me. And I was just like, and as my painting shows with the warrior, she was the warrior in me this entire time. Fighting, surviving was her job until we could meet. God ordained this moment in my life 2 years ago, October 2020. I began painting. I began dancing on TikTok. I stepped into my female energy. Whew. And now, the journey has been my little girl, my intuition, my gut. She is with me. When I start having negative conversations in my mind about my past or even my present moment, she is the one who says, Sharon, let's talk. And she will talk me, and she will coach me, and she will love me, and I will be able to walk away from situations and not have self-hatred and self-loathing. It is still hard to put into words what has transpired in my life, but none of it. You see, because I wrote in all my journals my story to God for the past 3 years. Those journals are 3 years. I kept pouring my story out. And I reread them recently. And I told him the same story over and over and over again. But I was also in the Word. I was in church and I was doing devotions. And His Word trumped every one of those words. His Word never changed. And I learned what it meant to rest in Jesus. Rest can't happen when you're running and you have addictions and you're numbing yourself and you run more and you run harder and you add more stuff to weigh you down. That was lifted the day God sent Big Tony into my life. And even though it was for a while, love like that comes to disrupt everything you've ever known or felt about love. So I had been looking for a man to love me my entire life. It's the best love story I have ever known. It is romance. It is desire. It is intimate. And then when you understand that you are made with a shape and with curves, and that he created man and woman, now I can be playful, I can be funny, I can be flirty. Went and got a boudoir photo shoot. I'm 59 in a few weeks. All my girlfriends were like, why would you do that? I'm like, why would I not celebrate the woman that I am today that loves every inch of her body? Because it's not about my outward appearance. Although I grew up the past 34 years or more not wearing makeup, cutting my hair really super short, being frumpy, wearing big clothes. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but for me, it was intentional. It was to say, back off. No man come near me. I walked with such anger in my job for 12 years. I've been asking people since this transformation has happened in my life, when people see me who knew me in my marriage, in my troubled dating world, they watched me. For 2 years, women come up to me and say, what are you on? Because I want some of it. They say, girl, you look 10 years younger. Like, you look so happy. People are coming to me for 2 years in this neighborhood that I live in. What do you got? Because I want some of it. And I'm like, his word is what I have. Let me wrap it up here because I went over my time limit for my 2 videos. This is part 2 to part 1, so it will make a lot of sense if you go watch my other video. But just today, and when I think about my past and what God has brought me through, I'm like, who am I to help other women? And God says, who are you? You've been through it. I lived it, and I was healed from it, and my shame was lifted. I want to help women who only can't even hear what I'm saying. They're still in the trenches. They need hope. The woman who's just starting her journey where I was 8 years ago, they need hope. The girls in the middle, the girls where I am, and the girls who are way over here, we're ascending together as a female empowerment group to give back and to share our testimonies. And so today, I get in the mailbox a friend who literally had seen my journey. She's talked to me on Facebook Messenger to say, it looks like there has been a huge burden lifted off your heart and soul. That was about a year ago. Sharon, I really enjoyed our visit. I love how God has brought you through so much and that He has left joy and laughing in your spirit. You are a very admirable woman. So happy I can call you sister and friend. So when you start doubting yourself and when God is attacking me, as He had, not God, I'm sorry, the enemy has been attacking me, when I know darn well what God wants to do with my life and to help others for the past 6 months, I doubt and I keep telling Him I can't. He goes, that's okay, I can. I need you to share your testimony. It's a beautiful story of redemption, grace, and mercy. And there is joy and laughter after the mourning and the grieving. There will be a season of rejoicing and laughter. Follow me on TikTok, Fun Outgoing Me. You will see my entire journey videoed, unbeknownst to me, because I didn't get on there to do teaching. I was celebrating my freedom through dance, which I'm going to do a whole nother video on somatic healing, and I didn't even know that I was doing that. But dance, freely freestyle dance, is a huge part of connecting back. to your body, to your female body, to your heart and soul. All right. Thanks for joining me. I'm Sharon. I hope you have a blessed day. Know that I've prayed for you. If this video comes through your phone, your hearts have been prayed for. And how did I ever doubt God that this day would come to fruition? I don't anymore, and that's why I'm sharing my story. Goodbye.